Welcome to tonight's coaching video, guys. This is M from the 33 Secrets, and we are going to be diving into what the latest research says about women who regret leaving an ex for another man. Okay, and this article is from the Daily Mail UK, and we are just going to jump right into it tonight. And so let's go ahead and start. It says here, why women have more relationship regrets than men. When it comes to regrets, there's nothing like a failed romance to reveal the emotional gulf between the sexes. For while it seems a man can walk away from a relationship with barely a second thought, his lover may worry for years about what she did wrong. More than twice as many women as men in a study said they had made mistakes with ex-partners, 44% compared with 20%. And here's a photograph of a regretful looking woman here, I guess, thinking back on what happened with her relationship. It says women are less able to walk away from a relationship without regrets than men. Relationship expert Jean Hannah Edelstein, go figure, said it showed that women felt they were more responsible for the emotional side of the relationship. Women are more inclined to look inwardly to identify reasons why a relationship broke down than men do, she added. They are also more likely to think to themselves that they were to blame and that it was their fault, and they will ask themselves, what is it about me that I could have done differently? Men, if they ask themselves those questions, would be something like, what was their problem? Or what else was going on in their life at that time? So already, I just want to go ahead and dissect the inauthenticity of this article. So when she is talking about women looking back on former relationships where it ended and she's obsessing over her ex and, oh my gosh, what could I have done differently? I want you to understand, guys, they are not talking about beta males here. They're not talking about beta provisioners. They are talking about chads, bad boys, okay? Jerks, the guys that mistreated them in relationships, that these women who are for the most part dysfunctional, these are the guys that these chicks gravitate towards. And when it comes to the nice guys who actually treat them well and are loyal and are kind, those are the guys that they don't have a second thought towards, right? When those relationships end, if they're with a beta guy, which is usually later in their life, right? And say they get divorced, when they're with that guy, and that relationship ends, whether it's a marriage or an LTR, they're not looking back on themselves with that introspection they had when they got dumped by the chat. They're not looking with the same introspection going, what did I do wrong? Why did this end? Instead, they're like, thank God that relationship's over. Oh my gosh, I was so bored out of my mind. Oh, why did I waste my time with him? You know, they could care less. And it's usually the beta guy who's thinking back on the relationship going, man, where did I go wrong? How did I lose her? Oh, did I not give her enough attention? You know, did I not simp to her enough? Did I not buy her enough free gifts? You know, that's usually that guy who's looking back on the relationship. So you see the reversals here. You see how this article is being very, very disingenuous when they're doing this study. So when these women, you know, and I'm sure they worded the survey in a specific way to attract women who did regret, who did have regrets from their relationship. But when you do a survey and you're trying to fulfill a certain narrative, which I'm sure they're trying to fulfill some certain like feminist narrative, you're not going to get a very honest study, because most women who are in relationships, especially when they're dating a guy who's a simp or a beta they don't respect, once that relationship's over, the last thing they're going to do is dwell on it. They're going to be hopping right back on the carousel looking for a chat. Okay, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to be looking back like, oh, that poor beta I dumped. What did I do wrong? They could care less. Okay, the only guy that they care about, because they're dysfunctional, are the guys who mistreat them. The guys who cheat on them, the guys who lie to them, the guys who use them, the guys who never show up for dates on time, who stand them up, who are banging 6 other women behind their back. Those are the guys that these chicks will reflect on later because they're damaged and go, oh my gosh, what did I do to lose this guy? Oh, I could have had the Chad. I could have gave that 33 Secrets guy the finger. That I can't get the Chad. I had him. So they will look to themselves and go, hey, what could I have done differently to have hung on to that Chad? But when it comes to the beta, they don't give him a second thought. Okay? Don't give him a second thought because it's a basic pickup lesson I teach you. The more you occupy the girl's thoughts, the more she becomes attracted to you, right? And generally, it's usually the bad boys who do that. Guys who don't have training, they're able to pull that off just because they do so many horrendous things to the girl that they just occupy her mind, albeit in a negative, toxic way. They occupy her mind to the point where she can only think of him, and then she becomes obsessed with him. And that's why when the relationship is over, she still continues to think about him and what she could have done differently. Whereas with the beta, no, she could care less. She could care less. So this article is not being honest, just to say the least here, with their study. So just to read on, it says, too few men admit to regret because they think it is unmasculine, but they should consider reflecting more. Again, with the dishonesty of this survey. So she's saying too few men admit to regret because they think it's unmasculine. No. So she's basically lying here because you go up to any man on the street and go, hey, do you regret your last relationship? No, I'm not going to admit to anything. That's unmasculine. They're never going to say something like that, right? This is her projecting her own feminista insecurities onto the reader. And that itself is disingenuous. That's being dishonest. So this is what I don't like when women write articles, women teach dating advice, women do anything because they're always doing it under the facade of trying to maintain their image, right? And they're doing it from a place that where their priority is to protect how people view them versus just getting to the bare truth, right? Men, we don't care about what people think as long as we get to the truth because we rather be because we know by default we'll get the proper accolade that we deserve by being honest, right? So I'm calling her out on this when she says, oh, men don't admit to regret because they think it's unmasculine. No. Okay? No. It's because we usually feel we made the right decision. So we don't like to live with regret. And again, based on the guys that she is talking about who are claiming they don't regret it, that they don't want to admit regret. These are Chads. These are Chads. Because if you ask the beta brads, like, hey, do you regret your relationship, your marriage ending? Those guys are going to say overwhelmingly, yes, absolutely. I wish I could have her back. I would do anything. I would cut off my right arm. Oh, I would give her the world if she would just come back to me. Those guys live with plenty of regret, and they will totally admit it. They will break down, start crying over her and begging her. So those guys have no shame, right? But here in this article, she is specifically talking about Chads, even though she will never admit it. Honest reflection after a relationship can never be a bad thing. The telephone survey, oh, there you go, telephone survey, asked 370 adults aged between 19 and 103 years old. People who are 103 still picking up the phone. What they considered their biggest single regret to be. The most common disappointment was romance, with nearly 1 in 5 of those questioned saddened that a relationship hadn't worked. Not surprisingly, perhaps single women were most likely to regret the one that got away. She said it right there. The one that got away. Who is usually the one that got away? The bad boy, the alpha jerk, right? Who never treated her the way she wanted to be treated. That's the one who got away because the women who would answer surveys like this are generally dysfunctional and they're still harping on the days of Chad because now it's like they're being haunted by the alpha ghost, right? What she basically did in this article is she just interviewed a bunch of alpha widows, right? You're not going to get a fair article when you just, or a fair study when all you do is talk to these chicks who are alpha widows, right? Because you can't really get answers out of girls who were dating the betas, because they could care less. They'll be like, no, I don't really care to take that survey because I don't really think about my ex because he was beta, right? But if they dated jerks, oh yeah, I'll take this survey. Ooh, I'm missing my ex, and oh, I want to talk about him, because they can never get over that alpha. That's why they call them alpha widows, guys. So she goes on to say, in second place, were family problems, with 16% wishing they had not argued with loved ones. A sense of failure over education came third, 13%, followed by regrets over careers, 12%, money problems, 10%, and parenting errors, 9%. The study, which will be published in the journal Social Psychological and Personality Science, that's a mouthful, was carried out by the American researchers at Northwestern University in Chicago. Lead author Professor Neil Rose said that although regret may be upsetting, it can be a good thing. He added, there are ways regret feels bad, but on average, regret is a helpful emotion. The most helpful way to experience regret is to feel it deeply and get over it quickly and move on, and use it to push you to new behaviors that are going to be helpful. I agree. I agree. The longer regrets tend to focus on the longer ago regrets tend to focus on lost opportunities, things you could have done or should have done different. More recent regrets tend to focus on things you did do that you wish you could take back. Even though the study reinforces the idea that women mourn failed relationships and reflect on their failures, while men appear ready to move on straight away without looking back, earlier research found that almost twice as many women as men wish they had married somebody else. So there was a big fat blatant hypocrisy here in this last paragraph, where he's talking about, women mourn failed relationships and reflect on their failures, while men appear to move on straight away without looking back. Yet twice as many women wish they married someone else. What? So there's just a lot of dishonesty in this article and in this study. But even here, where they're talking about how women mourn those failed relationships and they reflected on those failures, while those men appear to move straight on. Who are they talking about? They're talking about the Chads, right? Because the beta guy, you talk to any beta guy where their relationship ended, that dude is still mourning about it, right? It might have been over a decade ago. He's still thinking about it. He's still talking about it. He has not moved on. He's still blaming himself, right? He's still thinking about what he could have done differently. So they're not talking about betas here. They're talking about Chads. Don't make any mistake on that. And then it says that earlier research found that almost twice as many women as men wish they'd married someone else. What earlier research? How far back are you talking about? Where women were forced to, practically, encouraged to get married at a young age, and they might have married a beta. I could believe that. And then lastly, it says more than 20% of married women said that if they could go back in time, they would change their husband, compared with 12% of men. So almost double the percentage of women said if they could go back, they would change the guy that they married. While men, it was only 12%. So there is a lot of conflicting data here. And the reason why a lot of this data is conflicting itself is because it was done to fulfill a narrative, and it's, for the most part, dishonest. But I just wanted to pick it apart real quick here in tonight's coaching video. So do with it as you may. Just drop your comments below and let me know what you think about it. Let me know if there's anything that I might have missed, anything you would like to add and share with the tribe. Go ahead and share your comments below. I'm always happy to read them. Always happy to see you guys in my comments. So definitely drop those comments below. And also make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and make sure you subscribe to the 33 Secrets here. Also, if you want to support my work and everything I'm doing here, jump into 7 Months of Mastery below. It's really easy to get signed up. Just click the link below. It takes you over to my website, and you could get signed up in 2 seconds. That is the absolute best way to support my work if you love what I'm doing here. And you get to learn some pickup in game from one of the best pickup artists in the world. I teach you how to do that. Where do you think I got all this knowledge from, right? It wasn't from reading books. It was from going out there in field and interacting with women face to face for the last 3 decades plus. So that's the best way to support my work, so by jumping into 7 Months Mastery. Right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons, so take advantage of it. And yeah, click the links below. Until next time, gentlemen, this is M signing out from the 33 Secrets, and I will catch you in my next coaching video. I'm out.